something that's been on my heart. I say that on a regular basis. And it's come from, I guess, we celebrated Easter, didn't we, over the weekend? It's that long weekend, has special meaning for me, and for many of you who watch this show. We get to focus on the death and resurrection of Christ, and I hope in some way we get to share some of that meaning that we have from that graciously and cautiously with those around us. Now, during the lead up to Jesus' conviction for a crime he didn't commit, and when I wrote those words down, I'm thinking 80s show. Some of you might think of that, who's convicted for a crime that he didn't commit, but with all joking aside, he was convicted for a crime he didn't commit. He didn't do any of the things they accused him of. They accused him of all sorts of crazy stuff that just never happened. And he was bounced around the leading class of the time. There's a selection of priests, including the high priest, Roman soldiers, and a very powerful man by the name of Pontius Pilate. It's not a name that you hear on a regular basis, but he was a very specific character in that time. And history tells us that this man, Pontius Pilate, had the power to decide if this crucifixion thing that the Jewish leaders of the time were asking for was actually going to go ahead. Depending on which gospel you read, his wife was really disturbed by this. She had a dream and she felt really uncomfortable and asked him to have nothing to do with it. There's all this imagery of him washing his hands to wash his hands of any guilt of this. And one of the phrases he actually says in that moment is, "What is truth?" He says, "What is truth?" 3 simple words that had a huge meaning for him and ramifications in that time. And I actually think they echo a little bit now. It's super important to the context then because he knew something wasn't right about the truth that was being portrayed or the accusations that were being made about Jesus. He just knew something wasn't right about it. And it's super important, I think, now as well, in my opinion, as the truth is not always obvious today. Where the truth is, it's generally being attacked. It's up for question. It's being watered down. And you could be, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you could be wondering whether there's some plan going on in the background around that. And Mr. Pilate had those words to say, but philosophers have been wrestling with the same thing for generations as well. Now, in the news, hopefully I can do this without it being sort of a wait for me to get it done with. I'm fiddling around with technology. Today, you might have heard that Johnny Depp is in court. He's suing or something his ex-wife for defamation. And I don't know if this is going to work. I just took a little screenshot of it. I heard a little bit of the trial, and I quote Mr. Johnny Depp here. He says, "My goal is the truth." See, everybody wants to know the truth. Everyone wants to express the truth. Everyone wants to talk about their truth and those things that go along with it. And I actually hear it in our culture all the time, the truth. And it seems to be so subjective now. It can be interpreted based on your culture or your personal experience. And the phrase, your truth, as in your truth, it's used ad nauseum. And it means if you consider something to be true, then it must be. So if I say something's true for me, then it is the truth. But just by saying something is true somehow, and that it's right and it's above scrutiny, I don't know that that's right either. And any question, it seems, that leads to challenge that seems to lead to high levels of offence naturally coming. So what does truth? What's the definition of the words? 3 quick things: quality or state of being true. So the definition of truth is that it needs to be true. Okay. The second one is that that which is true is in accordance with fact or reality. I see all the time people talk about the truth that's got no bearing in reality. And the final one of the definition is a fact or belief that is accepted as true. So just because someone comes up with an interesting idea doesn't necessarily make it the truth. In fact, I read an explanation on a website today. Just bear with me. I'm just going to read a few of them out, and I'll post a link to where I got this from a little bit later. And it simply says this: truth is not simply whatever works. This is the philosophy of pragmatism. In reality, lies can appear to work, but they're still lies and not the truth. Truth is not simply what is coherent or understandable. A group of people can get together and form a conspiracy based on a set of falsehoods where they all agree to tell the same false story, but it does not make their presentation true. Truth is not what makes people feel good. Unfortunately, bad news can be true. Truth is not what the majority say is true. Truth is not what is comprehensible. A lengthy, detailed presentation can still result in a false conclusion. Truth is not defined by what is intended. Good intentions can still be wrong. And finally, truth is not simply what is believed. A lie believed is still a lie. So where can I leave this with you here on this whole subject of what is truth? Can I encourage you to discover what is true purposefully? When you see something, I encourage you just gracefully and gently dig into it for yourself. Don't be the world's biggest cynic, but have a little bit of curiosity to look into something beyond just what's on face value. The discovery of truth is one of life's greatest gifts and achievement. Like I said, don't just be skeptical about the truth presented to you. And in the traditional media, social media, that's where we get a lot of our ideas from, but have some curiosity to look into it for yourself. It may or may not be what you thought, but in regards to the truth that you discover, but as someone famously said, the truth has the power to set you and those around you free. Now, if the truth can set you free, obviously converse, a lie or an untruth has the opposite effect. It has the ability to enslave you and those around you. And I think, finally, the truth should be able to stand testing. It should be able to, truth should never be afraid of someone coming to it and saying, hey, prove it. Or coming to it and saying, can you show me the reasons behind why you're saying that is truth? I think truth is never afraid to defend itself. Hey, something to think about.